Most people think they know what to do when police try to pull them out of a car. The truth is, they don't. What you've seen online is usually incomplete, outdated, or dangerously oversimplified. Real cases don't fall apart because someone argued loudly or refused dramatically. They fall apart in quiet moments, in those few seconds where drivers unknowingly give officers legal control. This is not about arguing. It's not about refusing. And it's definitely not about memorizing viral one-liners. This is about understanding the small, overlooked moments that courts actually analyze when they review body cam footage. Because when those moments pass, your rights can disappear faster than you think. The most important moment during a traffic stop is not when the lights turn on, not when the officer first speaks, and not even when you answer questions. It happens the instant your body responds to a command. The second you unbuckle your seatbelt, reach for the door handle, or shift your body toward the exit, something changes legally. Courts call this submission to authority, and once it happens, everything that follows is judged differently. From that point on, you are no longer just being detained in a general sense. You are now physically complying, and every movement you make gets analyzed frame by frame. I've seen cases where nothing the driver said mattered at all. The entire outcome depended on one silent detail: the timing of when the driver moved compared to when the officer used force. If your body signals compliance before force is applied, the officer's actions often look justified. If force comes before your body shows compliance, that can raise serious legal questions. This is why you have to stop thinking in sentences and start thinking in seconds. Body cam footage is slowed down. Prosecutors and judges don't focus on your arguments. They focus on your posture, your hands, your shoulders, and even the moment your seatbelt clicks open. There's another distinction that most people misunderstand, even those who follow legal content closely. A lawful order to step out of a vehicle and the act of being physically pulled out are two completely separate legal issues. When an officer tells you to step out, the law allows that order. But once that order is given, there's a brief pause. During that pause, everything depends on how your body responds. If you stay completely still for too long, that silence can be interpreted as hesitation or resistance. If you move too quickly or unpredictably, that can be interpreted as a potential threat. The safest position is controlled, slow, visible movement that clearly shows your intent without creating confusion. Now here's something very few people talk about, but it can completely change how your situation is interpreted later: your car door. Whether your door is locked or unlocked sends a signal, even if you don't realize it. A locked door after an exit command often gets interpreted as hesitation or uncertainty. It gives officers room to argue that the situation was unresolved or potentially risky. On the other hand, unlocking the door while remaining seated sends a completely different message. It shows awareness and cooperation without giving up your physical stability. That simple click of the lock can become a timestamp in court. Lawyers replay it to show when compliance began. Judges rely on it to understand the sequence of events. This is why I tell people to think of the door as a signal, not just a physical barrier. Locked looks unresolved. Unlocked looks cooperative. Forced entry looks like escalation. You want your actions to leave as little room for misinterpretation as possible. Now let's talk about what I call the refusal trap, because this is where a lot of people lose legal ground without realizing it. Refusal doesn't mean yelling, arguing, or being aggressive. In many cases, refusal is simply a combination of delay and stillness. If an officer gives a command and your body doesn't respond, that moment starts to build a record against you. You might think asking a question like, "Why?" or "For what reason?" pauses the situation. It doesn't. Officers continue giving commands while you're speaking. If your mouth is moving but your body isn't, the record shows noncompliance. Courts trust what they can see more than what they hear, and your body language will always carry more weight than your words. Once that label of noncompliance starts to form, everything changes. Small movements begin to look like resistance. Normal adjustments get interpreted as preparation. What started as a simple delay can quickly escalate into something much more serious. Another detail that most drivers overlook is the seatbelt. It seems insignificant, but in legal reviews, it becomes a key signal. The moment your seatbelt comes off marks the transition from being secured in place to becoming mobile. If you unbuckle too early, it can look unpredictable. If you unbuckle too late, it can look like delay. Even the sound of the seatbelt clicking gets recorded and replayed. That sound becomes a timestamp. It shows exactly when you responded to the command. Something that feels trivial in the moment can carry. Your hands are another critical factor. Officers are trained to watch hands, not intentions. Open, visible hands signal cooperation. Hidden hands or sudden movements create uncertainty and risk. Even something as simple as reaching across your body too quickly can be misinterpreted. Most people focus only on what bodycam video shows, but audio often matters even more. Bodycam microphones capture tone, breathing, and timing with surprising clarity. If you talk over an officer, interrupt commands, or respond too quickly, it can sound like agitation or resistance on playback, even if you felt calm at the time. Silence can also work against you. Long pauses after commands get interpreted as delay. Even if you're trying to stay calm, those gaps create a narrative that officers can later use to justify escalation. The key is to acknowledge commands clearly and respond in a steady, controlled way. Now here's another major misunderstanding. Being pulled out of a car does not mean you are under arrest. Removal from a vehicle is considered a control measure. It allows officers to manage space and visibility. Arrest, on the other hand, is a legal status that comes later and follows a different set of rules. Officers often avoid using the word arrest early on because it gives them more flexibility. Many drivers keep asking, "Am I under arrest?" thinking it will change something. It doesn't. Your status is defined by the officer's actions, not your questions. Once you step out of the car, everything changes again. Inside the vehicle, the environment is controlled and limited. Outside, the space opens up. Officers gain more freedom to move, reposition, and control the situation. Courts recognize this shift and allow more physical guidance after exit. At this stage, your words matter less and your physical behavior matters more. Stability becomes key. If you keep adjusting your position, moving your feet, or shifting unnecessarily, it can be interpreted as instability. The best approach is to stay still unless instructed otherwise. Visibility also increases once you're outside. Officers can see more clearly into your vehicle, and anything in plain view can become part of the case. Something that wasn't visible before may suddenly become important. The biggest mistake people make is trying to win the moment. That's not the goal. The goal is to create a clear, predictable record that holds up when reviewed later. Every action you take should be slow, visible, and easy to understand on camera. Cases are not decided in the moment. They are decided later, in courtrooms, where footage is replayed and analyzed in detail. Judges don't feel what you felt. They see what the camera shows and hear what the microphone captures. If you delay without moving, move too fast, hide your hands, or talk over commands, those small actions can destroy your position instantly. On the other hand, slow responses, visible hands, and controlled movements build a strong legal narrative in your favor without you saying much at all. At the end of the day, traffic stops are not about winning an argument. They are about surviving the review that happens afterward. Officers write reports. Prosecutors build stories. Judges analyze recordings. And those few seconds you didn't think mattered become the foundation of everything. Most people never realize how important these moments are until it's too late. If this helped you see traffic stops differently, share it with someone who needs to understand it. And if you want more real-world legal breakdowns that actually protect you, make sure you subscribe.